What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Getting ready to do some waste motor oil collection. If you guys are doing a small group where I'm teaching people about that whole thing, like what you talking about, Trav? Like, there's a way you can take waste motor oil, and if you have the right trucks, like the right engines or generators or equipment or things that are pre-2008 and older, diesels, some run better than others, but you can run them on waste motor oil. There's a whole thing there. You can like YouTube black diesel. That's like a mix of diesel fuel and motor oil. Or you can distill it in actual diesel fuel, or you can like crush plastics and turn it into diesel fuel, or you can take algae and grow essentially like waste water with algae and then run it through a centrifuge and crush or separate the oil out of that and then use it for biodiesel, which is a little bit different than waste motor oil, where you take like vegetable oil and you distill it down, hit it with some methanol, and basically split the fats out of it. Fats go to the bottom, form like a soap, and then you've got like this very light vegetable oil, like almost like a salad dressing, where it has the same viscosity as diesel fuel. And you can run that through your pre-2008 diesels. And well, just it's an interesting industry. Let's put it that way. I was in it in 2007, 2008, 2009. Learned a lot about it on the restaurant side. So we were going after like organic oils, like vegetable oils, seed oils, that type of stuff. And it looks like the economic climate is going to be such where it's going to be a viable model again. So we'll see. Been a little absent from the YouTube, a lot absent from the YouTube. We are in harvest mode for all this bamboo. Bamboo was this idea I had like 4 or 5 years ago, maybe longer, like maybe 6. And there was a bamboo farm in town called Sarasota Bamboo Farm. Owner's name was Richard. Spoke to him, old guy, knew his stuff, been doing it for 25, 30 years. And it was like his full-time business. He did that, he did day trading, which is it was the funniest thing, like this guy. And eventually he retired, he sold the property, and I told him, I was like, look, I really want to buy the farm off you. We sold the property, and the guy that bought the property called me because Richard gave him his number, or my number, and he's like, hey, if you want this bamboo, you can pay to have it, harvest it, the whole thing. So we went out there with like a Cat 320 excavator, uprooted all this stuff, planted it at a rental shop I had, got it, divided it and got it going, and then a year later bought this land and we moved it out here. And this year, it's been out here for 2 or 3 years now, 3 years. This year we're finally able to harvest it. So I'll show you guys what we've been doing is taking large bamboo and chopping them into single stalks, essentially. Let me show you what a large bamboo would be. This is a Bambusa giganteus, largest bamboo in the world. I top them right there at the tops, and then I separate them. That one's due to be separated. You can kind of see like where it's going to be split into bigger ones, but we'll split that into thirds. And some of these other ones we've been splitting into like 1s, 2s, a couple of them are in 3s. Got my guys been working diligently for like weeks on this. I've been helping them because it's like an all hands on deck type of gig. We've been chopping them apart with a sawzall, generator, whole situation. We've got a bunch of little guys over here. Anyway, these guys will like harden up after the roots are kind of heal from the cutting process. About a month or 2, they'll shoot new leaves, and then they'll be sellable. And it'll be like our first legit harvest season. We have sold some boo last year. I think we did like $2,400 or $2,500 in like boo revenue. This year we should probably add a 0 to that. So it's like our first official year of harvesting, I think. And I don't know exactly what we have like inventory wise. I just know it's taking a while to quote harvest it, pop it out of the ground, divide it, plant them up into these new beds. All different types of like varieties in here. We have 14 varieties. I think we have like 10 of them for sale because the other 4 are kind of like really rare, don't have a lot of them, or only have like 1 or 2 copies of them. So it'll be some time yet before I can make copies of them. Cool thing about bamboo is it literally doubles like every year. The first year it doesn't do anything really. Like you split it, you might not have additional stocks. I'll show you what I mean. Like this is This is a Buddha belly boo. These things are super cool. Look at the shape on that, right? It's like super, super cool. So this is a 2 stock. So 1, 2. It probably won't like change much in the next year or two, but definitely by the time that second year happens, they'll have a 3rd stock and then a 4th stock, and you sell them based on how many stocks they have. So like this one is just like a bush type of thing. We've got these grasshoppers this time of year. Not good, not ideal. We just crush them. That's what we do with the grasshoppers. They like to like, they're kind of invasive. So yeah, you'll have like a single stock like that, and then second year it'll have a 2 stock. 3rd year it'll have 4. 4th year you probably have 8. You might get to 16 on the next one, but more likely 12. It starts to slow down a little bit, but at that point you're pretty much harvesting it. You're chopping it and dividing it. And so like, for example, something like a Buddha belly, maybe as a single stock is a $100 item. Really cool story with that. As a double stock, it's probably like a $150 item, and you probably just charge an additional $50 for every stock or something like that. It's just an example. So there's this like I picked it as like my first ag product because it was like, when I did the math and I was like, well, it's pretty easy to grow. It doesn't require a lot of like maintenance or fertilizer or anything like that. It's relatively tropical storm resistant once it roots in. Good tropical storm. It's not gonna like mess up your orange grove or something like that. And it was like how I could start. And I figured like the math was good enough on a small piece of land. Like I think you only have an acre or 2 acres probably of planted bamboo. Figured it was a good way to start. And so as we sell some of this revenue or collect that revenue, I'm going to turn some of that revenue into additional improvements here on the homestead. Like I've got a hydroponic system I've actually got a call on right now in the office and like order. I won't see it for like 6 months, but I've got a hydroponic system that I'm looking to have. I need it for the fish waste. I need the fish emulsion for like growing stuff out here, like that fertilizer. And then solar panels will happen off of this stuff. The waste oil actually is going to be, do a processing plant, so some of that revenue might bleed into my next operation, but should be like an additional cash flow for our family and our business. So it's taken like 4 years to get here, 4 or 5. So it's definitely been one of the longer investments I've made in my lifetime up to this point, but I wanted to do the farming thing. And so anyway, farming should be a lot more fun with annual cash flow, like just cash flow. Because everything I have into it up to this point is like sunk cost. Like it doesn't matter what I put into it. Like the first year I put like 10 grand into it. And the second year I probably put time, but maybe like 3 or 4 grand into it. And then the last 2 years, maybe $1 grand, if that, but definitely time. This year I've harvested, so I've had labor expense. But anyway, I don't know what my total investment on this was because it wasn't perfect record keeping at the beginning. Probably 20 or 25. Inventory wise, we probably have 50. And then hopefully cash flow this year we'll collect 25 or so. So we'll be able to recoup our initial investment. To which, if you look back over the last 4 years, there would have been other things I could have bought. I could have bought other things with my cash. But anyway, now I have the farm. This should be good for getting me like special tax privileges on the property out here. So that's another advantage. So I have like ag tax exemption. So hopefully as like property prices increase, I don't increase in my taxes, which would be real ideal. I got a bunch of Buddha bellies here, little babies all planted up. I count them all up. We got some agave. These things are cool. Let me show you what agave looks like. It's like a little baby agave. That's what they make. It's a blue agave. It's what they make tequila out of. I got one down here. I'll show you guys real quick before we gotta wrap it. But they grow like real big, like years, like 10 or 20 years, and then you harvest like the core of them. My understanding for the tequila or what you can make out of it. That's a larger agave. It shoots off all these baby pups. So I'm going to take these baby pups, start spreading them throughout the entire property. And the goal there is like eventually we'll have a few hundred agave, and then eventually they'll be harvestable. And then I'll just like, make a batch of hooch or whatever. But yeah, that's what we've been working on. We're wrapping up today. Today's our last day of the bamboosa. We've been wrapping it up. Got this weekend coming up. Got the SS sled. She's ready to roll. Got a new prop for the SS sled. She's been a hard time getting on plane. So new prop. Got my anyway, looking forward to bringing you guys out, getting some spearfishing videos, and you know, all that. There's actually some artificial reefs that some guys have been building around town, which is, I want to bring you guys that too. They're actually they're solving solutions, or creating solutions to problems. They're solving problems. And ecology wise, there's an endless amount of problems to solve. And anyway, guys, that's what I've been working on. Planning on being back to daily videos here shortly. And but I got to finish this cash flow, because this cash flow I've put like X amount of my time into. It's all sunk costs at this point in time, but it's like, come to the 8th inning, you gotta wrap it up here in the 9th. Even if it goes into extra innings, I can't quit on this thing at this point. But hopefully we've turned this into an additional cash flow. So we sold 25 grand worth of stuff a year. We sold 2 grand a month. Got an additional cash flow. Everything up to this point is sunk cost. So that'll let me take that cash, start, you know, incorporating it, buying a ton of additional edible, you know, food, mangoes, blueberry, all that type of stuff. I'd like to transition long term to like basically supplying people with really healthy, nutritious food, and contractors with the plants. Like, yes, we have mangoes, we have hundreds of them. Like, once you have the large trees established and you have root stock, you can graft onto them. And I'd like to shift my business operations to, that's what we produce and manufacture. We make 1,000 mangoes a year, we make X amount of blueberries a year, we make, you know, whatever may be the opportunity. And just grow them from ourselves, take them to farmers markets, sell them to buying clubs. I mean, I would like to, in my head, the idea of being a farmer sounds really, well, I'm already doing it, but transitioning over to that sounds like more of a permanent demand situation. Also being on the right side of inflation, the right side of food or energy crises or fertilizer. There's always gonna be a new crisis. We've gone over on this channel why there's gonna be crises. Until we reach like a, you know, a reset moment where the world powers, you know, reshift around and the incentives reshift around. The dollar is not going to be the king anymore. It's going to be a weird world, America. We're going to have to produce more than we consume, which means we have an 80% adjustment to our living standards coming. So stay tuned for that, because if you're in North America, you will be experiencing an 80% difference in your living standards. It's not a negative thing. It's just going to be a different thing. And I don't know when it's going to happen. It's clearly not happening at this very moment. I'm just making moves to get ready for when that does happen. And people who are productive and create things are once again rewarded, rather than people who just steal and transfer things and counterfeit. And so, nice little tail dragger up there. Dude's doing some S-turns. Maybe we can get him in the shot. Yeah, that is the goal. Just be out flying every morning over the park. All right, guys, I'll see you in future videos. We got to wrap up today. We've got a long day. We got to get this bamboo to a stopping point. And I've got to get this tiller all washed up, sold, or cleaned up, and potentially sold. More on that later. But I'm not in on the tilling thing anymore. I'm out on tilling. I think the science is spoken. We'll talk about that later, another day. All right, guys. Thank you.